African Class. And why are we telling the story of a white woman in the Heritage Month of Ghana? You are going to put all the pieces together and the jigsaw would, oh my God, end in demystifying this mystery. Today we're talking about EVELYN Evans. EVELYN Evans. Now listen. Ghana was the first country in the whole of the West Africa to own a library, a public library. Did you know that? Now, when you talk about the history of libraries in Ghana, you must give credence to the clergy, especially the Roman Catholic Church. You must also shake hands with the Methodist Church. And at the same time, you must also give credence to the powerful Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. Now, if Ghana became the citadel of learning, the gateway to Africa's scholarship and studentship, oh my God. My brother, my sister, you must acknowledge this woman who we are going to talk about today. Oh gosh. Today we're talking about EVELYN Evans. Now, EVELYN Evans was born Evelyn Alice Jane Evans. EVELYN Alice Jane Evans. In England, they said Evans. Evans. But we here say Evans. She was born on the 22nd day of March in the Heritage Month of Ghana. In 1910, she was only 1 year younger than Kwame Nkrumah. And she was born, my brother, my sister, in Coventry, where I had my master's a few years back. My brother, my sister, England. She was born on the 22nd day of March in 1910. Oh gosh. And who was she? What did she do? Why are we talking about her here? Now, if you are ready for the class, let me see your hand. Our heroine for today, EVELYN Evans, the beautiful one, whose photograph my producer has posted. So you can see right here in the Afriacn History Class. We are talking about the woman who institutionalized the library, the public library, right here in Ghana. They hired her to go all the way to Nigeria to repeat the same thing. What happened? How did it all happen in this country? Now we all know that Kwame Nkrumah was a man who loved to read. He would read anything in print. Oh my God. This was what brought him together with the powerful woman from England. Oh, and we are talking about this woman who later became the private secretary of Kwame Nkrumah in the Gold Coast. Today, my brother, my sister, we are not talking about that woman. We are talking about this woman. And which woman are we talking about? EVELYN Evans. Now, the private secretary of Kwame Nkrumah was called Erica Powell. She was best friends with EVELYN Evans. In fact, she was the one who introduced EVELYN Evans to Kwame Nkrumah. Now, let us look at the story. EVELYN Evans was born in Coventry in 1910. Now, she worked for the public library service from 1927. In 1933, she had become a fellow of the Library Association, and in 1935, she was in Ann Arbor working at the library of the University of Michigan in America, right? Is that what you're thinking? That the University of Michigan is in America because of Michigan? My brother, my sister, The University of Michigan is a public research university in Ann Arbor, Michigan, founded in 1817. My brother, my sister, now where is Ann Arbor? Ann Arbor is a city in the United States. In fact, my brother, my sister, and it is in the state of Michigan. So she left England and went all the way to America, to that state known as Michigan, to the city known as Ann Arbor. And she worked there as the library assistant. She returned to Coventry, the place of her birth, and she became the public library director until 1941. All these dates are very important. This was long before the independence of this great country called Ghana today. From 1945, she came all the way to the Gold Coast. Hey. In fact, she arrived in the Gold Coast even before Nkrumah's private secretary, and I'm talking about that woman known as Erica Powell, for who a street is named in Mataheku after. Listen to this interesting story. EVELYN Evans arrived in the Gold Coast in 1945. In fact, even ahead of Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah arrived in 1947. She arrived here 2 years before Kwame Nkrumah arrived in the Gold Coast. And she arrived here in the Gold Coast as the librarian for the British Council. You remember the British colonizers, and the British love to read. So she arrived here to keep the British legacy and hobby of reading in the British Council. In 1946, John Agloinby, listen attentively. John Agloinby, I spell Agloinby, A-G-L-I-O-N-B-Y, John Agloinby, who himself was born John Ofer Agloinby. He was the Bishop of Accra during the second quarter of the 12th century. He was a white man. Hear this. He was the Bishop of Accra. He donated 1,000 pounds of his own money to found the Ghana Library Board. Are you checking out the dates? We're talking about 1946. There was no Ghana then. He donated 1,000 pounds and wanted the Ghana Library Board founded. We're going to break that jinx in no time. Listen. She was immediately promoted to the Gold Coast Library Board. Now we are talking Gold Coast. The Gold Coast Library Board in 1949. But remember, 3 years earlier, there was some money that was donated. It was donated in the name of the Ghana Library Board. But was that actually the name? No. It was just for a library project for the country. How did it get known as the Ghana Library Board? Even though this amount of money was donated in the days of the Gold Coast in 1946, even before the arrival of Kwame Nkrumah in this country from England and America in 1947. In fact, John Agloinby only donated the money and said, please use this for a public library. 3 years later in 1949, Nkrumah was already in this country for 2 years, and he even started his CPP after he had broken away from the UGCC. By 1949, Kwame Nkrumah was already playing with the name Ghana. Remember the school in Cape Coast that is known as the Ghana National Academy, right? Ghanas. We also have Ghanas right there in Koforidua. That's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Ghana National Academy in Cape Coast. Nkrumah built it. my brother, my sister, from his own pocket money. After students were rusticated from public schools for taking part in the 1948 riots of Accra. Listen to this. So in 1949, Nkrumah was already here playing with the name Ghana. So when our heroine for today, EVELYN Evans, was promoted in 1949, and she served in the capacity of the director of the Gold Coast Library Board for just a year. In fact, it became recognized as a statute. She was able to start the first library service, and she became the first chief librarian in the Gold Coast. In the Gold Coast, chief librarian. Hi. And in time, she was the first director of library services in this country known as the Gold Coast. She was an advisor to UNESCO. And in this capacity, she advised the emerging library services in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, and also in the new country known as Ghana. But as early as 1946, yes, there was a fund that was donated by the Bishop of Accra, John Aglaimbi, £1,000 for a library project in the Gold Coast. It started off as the Gold Coast Library Board, and then it metamorphosed into the Ghana Library Board, all under this beautiful woman by name EVELYN Evans, who initiated all this with the help of Bishop Aglaimbi, the Bishop of Accra. This is the Afriacn History Class. In fact, she helped form the West Africa Library Association in Ghana and made Ghana the headquarters. After all, the whole of West Africa, the whole library thing started here. So when it comes to reading, it's not by chance that Ghana is so elevated. Yes, Ghana tested film. Ghana tested library long before the rest of West Africa. Nigeria came next. Listen to this. Now she was in Ghana and she was still the association's president. I'm talking about the West Africa Library Association and also the director of the Ghana Library Board. Now there was also the Ghana Library Association in 1962. And while in Ghana, she became close friends with Erica Powell. You remember I mentioned that name earlier? And Erica Powell, all this while, was the private secretary, female, of Kwame Nkrumah. In fact, they had such a close-knitted relationship, so close that many were those who read meanings into those. And from where I sit as a historian, I do not doubt what rumors they are. In fact, Nkrumah trusted and believed her so much that he gave his own autobiography to her to ghostwrite. He believed and trusted Erica Powell so much so that he could sit in exile in Guinea and ask Erica Powell to bring him a bottle of wine and biscuits. In fact, she was the only woman who cured Nkrumah's loneliness. In fact, she kept Nkrumah warm in his bed. I'm not saying any other thing except to pull a blanket over Kwame Nkrumah when he needed to be warm. When Nkrumah was so sick, she was the only woman by the bedside of Nkrumah, whilst Sammy, I beg your pardon, Fatia, was in exile. They shared a lot of love letters, some of which she published in her book, Private Secretary, Female, Gold Coast. If you haven't read that book, you are not a Ghanaian yet. Find that book and read it. Nkrumah stopped her from publishing the book because he believed that some of those love letters were private and shouldn't have been published. Only Blakk Rasta can tell you this. So she was the one who introduced our heroine for today, EVELYN Evans, to Kwame Nkrumah. And they all became friends. So Nkrumah pumped more money into the library after all. He loved the library. In 1960, her MBE was upgraded to CBE. What is MBE? Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. In fact, she brought honor to the British Empire. And then it was upgraded to CBE. And CBE is the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire and is higher, the highest in that category. Oh my God. In 1961, Evans went on a world tour of libraries, visiting many in Africa and other emerging countries. It was like she was just sent into the world to develop public libraries and reading. That was what she did. She didn't only do it in Africa. Remember, she was in Michigan before she came to Ghana. Oh, the Gold Coast. Yes, remember. In 1964, she published a tropical library service, the story of Ghana's libraries. If you haven't read this book, oh my God, then you are not a reader. You are not a bookworm. Find it and read it. It's called a tropical library service, the story of Ghana's libraries. She left her role in the Gold Coast in 1965. Very timely, a year before Nkrumah was overthrown. And that was the same year Erica Powell also left Nkrumah's service and returned to England. Today, we're not telling the story of Erica Powell. It's so deep. We're talking about EVELYN Evans. She left this country in 1965. Oh. And Nkrumah was overthrown the following year. My brother, my sister, in 2 years' time, she found herself in Libya and also in Ceylon for UNESCO. And she remained in Ceylon until 1970. I hope you know where Ceylon is. You know, right? Okay. Ceylon, that's the capital of Sri Lanka, right? You know that, right? All right, students. So hear me now. She found herself in Ceylon until 1970. And in 1975, she was invited back to Ghana to come and be celebrated and to join in the celebrations of the 25th anniversary of the library service that she had initiated. And when she arrived in Ghana, they gave her a beautiful kente, and all around her, king. Oh, she was so nostalgic. In fact, she was nostalgia-stricken. You want to hear it again? She was nostalgia-stricken, like a chicken with coccidiosis, when she started to jump up in spasms that many people would say she was caught up in the spirit of the Adwa. Hear me now. Hey, 1975. Oh, she was here. And she celebrated. Oh, when she returned to England, we never heard of her again. We never heard of her again. We believe she died. She died, but her date of birth, I beg your pardon, is confirmed, but not her date of death. Today we remember you, mommy. Why be? Now who free her? So a dear why no? Or more free her crown to be. Mommy, that's it. Mommy, Uniyaminko. Mommy, Obroni. EVELYN Evans. The boy D crying to me, but yeah, boy, Arne El no cry higher. EVELYN Evans. And Shay and I coca EVELYN. Oh, mommy, EVELYN Evans. Aris. Oh, Arne ne L no eteya hi. Evelyn Aris Pocho Alice Evelyn Alice Evans Uniyaminko. Oh Uniyaminko. Oh Damri Fadwe wa ma buku wa kire huma wa ma akotenase akan huma ya niska kra ya nya bi akan ya maso anya bi akan ye kapro futi se akọ ya se akoti brofo ana ye wo oh mami Uniyaminko. Uniyaminko wate. Uniyaminko. Mesi Uniyaminko wate. Uniyaminko. Oh Mama Harris. Mesi Uniyaminko wate. Mama Evelyn. Mesi Uniyaminko wate. Yeah, uoya wate. Uniyaminko wate. Missy Baba yo. Oh, Mama Harris. Mama Evelyn Harris. Missy Uniyaminko wate. Bye yo. Oh. Dami fadue. Duene amane hono. In the burden of knowledge, I ask you, now that you know what to do, be an any or lay a mini or bafe, Yenzunda Kagane, Mesaka Yine, Pabango Bokaya Nung, Fifi Ayanu Kaina War, Banaehu Abaden, Lela Jimansinga Bekone, Lela Jimansinga Berry. Oh, Mama Aris, Evelyn Aris. Uniyaminko wate na ye kai wo da why bi Uniyaminko wate me sit down in the burden of knowledge. I ask you, yes, how will the story of EVELYN Evans impact your own life in contemporary times?